Oh, hello there. Thanks for stopping by. I normally don't get very many visitors at the end of time, so this is a surprise. What's that you say? You wish to learn about the history of video game music extensions on YouTube? Well, that's a bit of an oddly specific request, but I'd be more than happy to educate you on the matter. Come with me and we'll take a trip down memory lane as we look at YouTube's history with video game music and music extensions. Let's first start off with a brief history on video game music before we get into the YouTube side of things, so you can have just that little bit of extra background knowledge and context for the subject at hand. Music itself comes in many different forms and genres, like jazz, rock, blues, country, and much, much more. One of these newer genres, or rather categories, is video game music, of course. This particular category of music has evolved from just bleeps and bloops to whole sweeping orchestras and symphonies. Video game music, or just VG music for short, also progressed as the consoles and hardware progressed with it, allowing for smoother, clearer, and more imaginative music. In the early days of VG music, composers were limited to what specs the hardware had due to restricted storage space, so the early days did not allow for very much creative freedom in terms of sound quality and music quality. However, with each and every console generation, music slowly improved in quality due to the upgrade in hardware. To get just a little bit more into the specifics, back in, let's say, the late 1980s to early 1990s, for example, composers were limited on what they could create based on how much memory was left over after the game development process was finished, as music is one of, if not the last elements created in game design. As the years went on, consoles gained more powerful hardware, and this became a non-issue eventually. One of the shining examples of this was with Yasunori Mitsuda, who did great work with Chrono Trigger for the SNES back in 1995. He really showed the world what you could do with limited hardware in terms of music composition back in the day. Arriving at a more present time, video game music has played a huge role in facilitating quality background music for videos and content creators on YouTube ever since the platform's founding back in 2005. Some of these content creators include the likes of Let's Players, commentary videos, analysis videos, and much, much more on YouTube. Whether it be Wavy Websurf, Chuggaaconroy, The Right Opinion, HC Bailey, HMK, Skyward Wing, Tear of Grace, Some Ordinary Gamers, Gum, Late Omni, or Optimus, a lot of different content creators, including myself, depend on video game music to provide their audience with something to listen to in the background of their videos. VG music has become ingrained in not only YouTube culture, but internet culture as well. But you may be thinking to yourself right now, how does one acquire game music to be used in their videos? Normally, video game music can be bought or obtained through various storefronts like Spotify or Bandcamp, downloaded from official game music YouTube channels promoted by the original creators of the games, or bought through albums, just like regular music. However, what about the cases where a service like that is not readily available, or the company just does not want to make their music available to the public due to some other issue? That's where some users who employ the practice of extracting the music straight from the game's files come into play. In order to extract game music, you would need to go through a process called ripping. Ripping is where you go through a game's files and take various sound effects or music that you need, and convert it into a usable file format if it's not already usable beforehand. This converted file, usually a .wav or .mp3 file format since they're the most common types, can then be put into a video and uploaded onto YouTube. This is where we run into a bit of a moral and legal conundrum, however. If the person extracting the music from the game already owns the game and notices that the music has not been officially uploaded by any of the associated parties with that game, are they then in the wrong for uploading music that the general public doesn't have access to through normal means? This dilemma can be most easily compared to that of modifying a Japanese-only game, making an English translated patch for said game, and then distributing the English patch. Not the game itself, mind you, but just the patch. This is done so that people can enjoy the game fully translated in English. And then the person playing that game would use files dumped straight from their legally bought Japanese copy of the game onto an emulator with the English patch installed, which to my knowledge is perfectly fine under US law. But take it with a grain of salt, as I'm not a legal expert, or a lawyer for that matter, but I did do some research. Downloading a ROM from a website for free and then emulating that game using the ROM is very illegal, on the other hand. The question that I was posing with that English patch comparison was, are you now in hot water for making a piece of media accessible that was previously inaccessible or hard to consume through normal methods? Copyright laws regarding music is quite a messy subject that I would rather not get into right now, but it's a headache and a half to say the least. Now that the stage has finally been set, our main cast of characters can finally introduce themselves. Back in 2010, during the reign of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, when I was just a lad at the age of 11, and when YouTube looked much different, a channel that would change video game music forever was founded. This channel went by the name of BrawlBRSTMs. Its purpose was to upload 15 to 30 minute extensions of video game music so everyone could enjoy what the various composers had to offer, without having to constantly hit the replay button on the video, or having to have your game in the pause menu just to listen to the music. With the music being ripped straight from the game files, this ensured the best quality of music possible, without the possibility of sound effects getting mixed in and interfering with the music itself. BrawlBRSTMs, before it had a YouTube channel, was a website where various users could submit extended rips of various soundtracks from video games, and basically have it act as a hub for video game music extensions. It was a pretty vast collection of music too. I would show you the site, but it's been taken down as of yesterday by the owner of BrawlBRSTMs out of respect for the copyright holders of the music. Back in its prime era of the early to mid 2010s, BrawlBRSTMs was the channel to go to for all of your VG music extension needs. Did you want to listen to music from Metroid Prime? They had you covered. Feel like listening to something from Super Paper Mario? Yep, they had that too. It wasn't just Nintendo music that they had either. They had music from Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Sonic Riders, Pokemon, you name it, they more than likely had it. It was truly a haven for all things video game music related. Unfortunately, this golden age of Brawl would not last forever. As the channel grew in popularity, Nintendo quickly caught on to what they were doing and were extremely fast to act, rightfully so even. After all, they were taking Nintendo's music and just ripping it from the games without altering it or using it as background music in a video that had transformative elements like commentary added in. Even though Nintendo themselves had not offered a way to listen to their music beforehand for most of the games in question, they swiftly ordered copyright strikes on the channel. And similar to how the magical kingdom of Zeal from Chrono Trigger met its end, it was terminated and swept under a sea of copyright strikes in just a matter of time. Even though they tried their hardest to prevent the channel from crumbling under the weight of the copyright strikes, it was too late. Nintendo had finally accomplished what it set out to do. The paradise of VG music that was the original BrawlBRSTMs was erased, obliterated, and destroyed. In the wake of Nintendo protecting its music, even though it was a legally rightful action, had actually caused quite a bit of sadness throughout the YouTube community. Many people had used these rips collected by Brawl over the years for background music in videos, studying music, exercise, sleep, and much more. With the channel now gone, people had to rely on splintered channels that had a more limited selection of music than what Brawl had to offer. However, to the YouTube community's surprise, Brawl wasn't quite finished yet. From the ashes of the original channel rose a resurrection. Brawl had come back from the dead, this time as BrawlBRSTMs 5. Brawl also had 3 other channels, being named the same, just with different numbers at the end. These channels would serve as backups should Nintendo or anyone else for that matter come back for vengeance. So it was then that Brawl picked up the pieces and started to rebuild its massive library of video game music. For a time of about a couple years, give or take, everything was peaceful. and many people were very grateful that they got to listen to their favorite music extensions again. This too would not last, as Nintendo would come by again and again, striking any and all Nintendo-related music that Brawl had uploaded, resulting in the same breed of sadness and destruction that had come the last time. This process would repeat a fair amount of times, with Nintendo perpetually burning Brawl to the ground once they had gained traction over and over. During the massive war that Nintendo was having with Brawl at the time, many were inspired by Brawl's original duty to bring music extensions to the people, and made their own channels specifically made for video game music extensions. Channels like Crunchy Music, Distifizer, and many more also took up the mantle of uploading music extensions whenever Brawl was terminated, so that the people would never miss out on their favorite tunes during channel downtimes. Other channels like Siva Gunner provided funny edited versions of various soundtracks in 2016 and onwards. Even though Brawl was fighting for the life of the channel, people still found ways to bring happiness to the general public. Then came late 2018. Brawl was on their last channel in the form of BrawlBRSTMs 3X, and the latest game in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch, was set to release soon in December. Unfortunately for Nintendo, Smash Ultimate had already been leaked by someone in Mexico, and people were now playing it like crazy. Rips of the game music somehow managed to get into the hands of both Crunchy and Distifizer. Tempted by the promise of more views and subscribers, they both couldn't resist uploading soundtrack rips from the new game before anyone else. They were promptly terminated for their actions shortly after. In my opinion, this was justified because both of them had broken street date rules and got what they deserved as a repercussion. What they did was clearly illegal, and Nintendo had every right to take them down. Crunchy and Distifizer eventually managed to rebuild their channels after this incident, but had lost a huge amount of their subscribers as a result of the prior terminations. Fast forward to just a few weeks before summer of 2019 kicked off, and just a bit before Hero and Banjo were revealed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Brawl announced that it would no longer host any and all Nintendo music on their channel. So, in order to avoid, or at least delay the final blow to this last channel, Brawl scrubbed any and all traces of Nintendo music from their channel, or so they thought at least. Some remnants of game music from Pokemon Ranger, Shadows of Almia, still remained on the channel, with maybe some pockets of Nintendo music here and there. It can be speculated that the Nintendo music that Brawl had overlooked and failed to wipe from the channel completely was what gave Nintendo the grounds to finally finish off its long-standing opponent, but we don't know for sure, as not even the owner of the channel itself knows who dealt the coup de grace. But what we do know is that on August 13th, 2019, BrawlBRSTMs X3 was finally terminated and laid to rest after 9 years of uploading music, counting the terminated channels that is. At around this time period, Siva Gunner was also hit with a bunch of blocks from Nintendo, and may follow suit shortly. With what seems to be the final termination of BrawlBRSTMs and a rather bittersweet set of tweets from the original Brawl Twitter account, this seems to be the end of the road for the channel brand as a whole. However, it would be foolish to say that the tradition of uploading video game music extensions has died with Brawl. Many others still upload music extensions to this very day, and when one of them gets taken down, 2 more seemingly take its place. Despite Brawl's warnings of the repercussions of uploading unedited music extensions onto YouTube, people will always be stubborn. Until Nintendo can find a way to distribute its music, like through the use of an official Nintendo Music YouTube channel, or putting its music up for sale on various storefronts like Google Play or iTunes, this never-ending cycle of uploading music and terminations of YouTube channels is destined to repeat itself until the end of time, most likely. I wanted to make this video to remember, honor, commemorate, and immortalize all the great work that everyone over at both the BrawlBRSTMs website and the YouTube channel did into YouTube history. Even though BrawlBRSTMs and other parties ripped game music straight from the source without consent of the companies beforehand, which was legally questionable, I would say that a lot of good came out of what they did, as they helped a ton of people gain access to media that would have otherwise been awkward or hard to access. They also inspired others to check out works of various composers, possibly motivated companies to create options of purchasing game music, and just created a very healthy and friendly community of people who loved video game music in general. Hopefully, theirs and others' work of extending video game music inspires Nintendo to offer their music on various platforms for the general public to enjoy, as I would hate for all that effort to go to waste. Companies like Square Enix have already done this, as it was revealed during E3 of 2019 that they would offer albums of Final Fantasy music on various shopping platforms. Combine this with Square's chill and relaxed attitude towards people using their music in the background of their content on YouTube, and you've already got huge steps of progress in the world of video game music. BrawlBRSTM's story might have ended a couple days ago, but my final question to you, as the viewer, is, where will you go with your story now that you've heard the tale of BrawlBRSTMs? Will you follow the same route as they did, fighting an endless war that will never fully be won by either side? Or will you perhaps push with others for more purchasing options for video game music? The choice is yours to make. And I'd make it carefully if I were you, or else you might just shortly perish.